Let's move on to Rachel. What's up, Rachel? We'll do some super chats here in a second. What's up, Rachel?
Hey, Jay.
Yo.
I heard that little fun clip with the woman saying you need to ask men why they want to have babies, because why don't they just want to, adopt, and why do they have to have genetic babies of their own? It's funny because the second book I've been working on, I'm almost finished with the research stage and should be starting writing in January. This is actually not a new idea at all, and it ties into a lot of the stuff that you've been talking about recently. So there was a Bolshevik woman called Alexandra Kollontai who did a lot of propaganda. She was a really big, prolific writer for the Soviets. And she was also a high-level government position for a woman at the time. She was like, a top cabinet position. And she wrote a lot of stuff about how we need to get rid of the family because the patriarchy and paternity is how private property and wealth are passed down.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that legacy idea is connected with you passing down property. And when Bertrand Russell and H.G. Wells said that they would get rid of all this, it was precisely for that purpose, for depopulation. That means you can't pass on a lineage. That's why Brave New World has test tube babies.
Yes. Yep. And that's what she wanted. She was the one that first legalized abortion anywhere in the world. That was her idea. It was also her idea to make it paid for in state hospitals and all that. But the interesting thing about her is that her early education, she was heavily influenced by Beatrice and Sidney Webb, who you've been talking a lot about, in the Fabians.
Yes.
And the book is basically about how in the West we had this feminism, sexual revolution, destruction of the family thing going on. But it was more of a get women to be CEOs, get women to be boss bitches, get women to enter the workforce so that they can gain their own wealth.
Lean in.
And then in the East, it was the same thing, only they put it into a communist paradigm where it was like, the only reason you need to be a mother is if you are producing workers for the state. And she literally said women need to stop looking at themselves as mothers and wives, and they need to start seeing themselves as labor units.
Yeah, exactly.
But her ideas came out of, all her education was in Germany, Sweden, the UK, Paris. She even taught at some of the esoteric schools that Anatoly Lunacharsky and Maxim Gorky had in Russia and Italy. So there's some occult ties and some espionage ties. So I think it's going to be a super interesting book. Sorry to plug it, but I think it's really interesting how as early as we're talking pre-World War I and right around World War I, this was already going on with this East-West dialectic where it was the same powerful elites, the same small group of people influencing thought, and they could take the same concepts they wanted and make it fit into communism, and they could make it fit into capitalism and just tweak it a little bit, but get the same result.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a really powerful example of how that's done.
Yes, and when you get that done, I'd love to have you on, and we can do a discussion of the new book and the old book about feminism that you talked to Jamie about. And for those in the audience, a lot of people ask, when are you going to do the next Johann Ratziu book talk? I'm almost ready. So in the next couple days, I should be ready to do the second lecture on this excellent classic book. Hard to find. It's really a successor to Quigley. So he synthesizes Quigley and Sutton very well and puts out a pretty recent 2012 work that's about 500 pages, updating everything in regard to Quigley and Sutton's work. So I'm almost ready for the second lecture. I was going to try to do that tonight, but then I was like, nah, let's just clown around and talk about the Tucker JFK thing. So, so that will tie into what I'm going to be covering on the next talk. I would like to get to the new books that came in. Where's the other one? So I finally got Kissinger's World Order. That will probably be a good one to get to. I'm eager to do a full talk on Williams' book, Operation Gladio, which you heard me kind of allude to when we did one of the geopolitics of the Vatican stream a few weeks back. I'm looking forward to this, which also fits into the research that we're covering from the Quigley stuff, the Ratio stuff. So thank you to all my excellent tweeters, because everybody sends me awesome recommendations in Twitter all the time. And somebody recommended Charles Hyam's book, Trading with the Enemy. And this is yet another one of these in the vein of Sutton, showing the higher level industrialist banking power that is really running the communist, socialist, monopoly capitalist situation. Monopoly capitalists that are basically running all this stuff. And this goes deep into Standard Oil and all that. So I'm looking forward to Charles Hyam's book. And then years ago, somebody recommended this. I finally got around to getting it. I haven't read it, so I don't really know what it's about. But everybody said, hey, you got to read this. It's a great, global elites book. The Accidental Superpower by Peter Zeihan. So I'm looking forward to that one. And usually people that recommend global elite texts, they're spot on. I think it was Jim Bob who recommended Jacques Attalie's Brief History of the Future. And man, that one was that was next level. So shout out to Jim Bob for that one. I think Jim Bob, I think, recommended a couple other ones that I eventually ended up getting. But I don't remember who recommended Zeihan or Charles Hyam. So I apologize if you guys are not getting the credit you deserve. I just can't keep up with all these messages and emails and tweets. So anyway, anything else you want to discuss, Rachel?
No, that's it for me.
Great tie-ins there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to delving into the espionage angle of all of this Soviet Bolshevik stuff. And shout out to Richard. So Richard Grove had a great idea last night when we were doing the philosophy class. I wanted to promote that too. Check this out, you guys. Here's the test landing page for the philosophy course. Look at that. That's hype, boy. Look at that. Check it out. Check it out. Philosophy 101. Do you want a better way to study philosophy, gain wisdom, and defend yourself against the regime? The regime? We got to fight the regime. Introducing Philosophy 101 with Jay. Not your father's philosophy class. Not legacy. This is the future, boys and girls. Education in the future, if you want a real education, not state brainwashing institution garbage. You're going to want to get this kind of a course. Philosophy 101. Really, it should, I don't care. Philosophy 101 is fine, but it kind of should be History of Western Philosophy. Introduction to History of Western Philosophy. Because it's not really Philosophy 101. It's a little more advanced than 101. So, the course, we're 9 lectures in. They're all 2 to 3 hours. So we may end up with 35 to 40 hours of lecture. It looks like it'll go on sale probably in a month. So sometime in January. So we're almost done. Last night we did Descartes. We got 3 or 4 more talks to go. And I really appreciate everybody over at Autonomy. They drew up an amazing landing page here. So this is exclusive to Richard Groves' Autonomy. It's not going to be for sale anywhere else. Richard's a huge bud. Love Richard quite a bit. And it was a great idea that I'm so glad we did this. The plan is we're going to do multiple courses. And I'm like, I want to do a history of espionage. Nobody's done that. I want to do that. Somebody's done that, but not in our sphere. Not in the way I want it. I want to do a full-on super course because I think that would be badass. I also want to do a full-on course of the Global Elite books. I also want to redo the Tragedy and Hope course because I did that when it was like low-tech ghetto and it looks dumb. The information is gold, but it needs to be redone. So hopefully we can eventually totally redo Tragedy and Hope. I might do it over here with Richard. Imagine if we had like 10 courses. 10 full-on courses, 400 hours, if they're all 40 hours or so. That would be buck wild. But I have to say, these are not going to be $4.95. Okay, I put a lot of time into this. It's a lot of work to do. It's slides. I don't like doing slides. That's some boring stuff, but I did it. So these courses are full-on courses. And I've watched a lot of YouTube, mainline professors doing their boring legacy lectures. This is better than that. And it's going to be on sale in a month, and it's going to be badass, and it's going to be $900 to $1,000. So, but it's worth it, because if you took a college course, which would not be as good as this, you're going to pay $1,000 per credit hour, not for the whole course. And by the way, master classes with JBP or whoever, those are what, $300-$500 for a few hours. This is 40 hours. Okay? And way more material and interaction. So everybody that pays for this course, the next season of the course, I come back and you watch it with me, or I reteach it if I want to. And then you have interactions with me for the Q&A sessions, which go as long as anybody wants. Do you get to interact with anybody in those goofy masterclass things? No, you don't. There's too many people. You don't get to interact with David Lynch teaching the filmmaker class. You don't get to interact with Jordan Peterson, I don't think. So you're paying like $500 for a few hours and no interaction. This is $1,000 for 40 hours of course, which I busted my ass on. And you get to do Q&A for as long as you want. So you can't beat that. And yes, it's worth $1,000. So that's coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. Big Chief, what's up, dude?